problem is I don't particularly love either of those two categories. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Just Another Struggling Writer, the beleaguered author's one-stop shop for commiseration and hopefully inspiration. My name is Carrie Scher, and I am just another struggling writer. Well, today I am doing a August cozy reset, and while July was far more successful in terms of reading and writing and creative output than the month before, there is still some things I would like to tighten up and sort of wash away before the new month begins. If you haven't seen one of my cozy resets, what I like to do is I like to look back at the month before, reflect on my successes and some areas of improvement. Then I tend to do a little bit of cleanup and finally finish up with a look ahead to the new month and pick out some short-term goals that I would like to meet. Lately, I've also been doing my monthly TBR in these videos as well. So reflecting back on July, I will say that I think I finally got back into a rhythm in a lot of ways. While I'm not completely back to 100%, I do feel good about the progress that I've made. One major area of success is in the growth of this channel. Not only did I hit my 1-year milestone on YouTube, my first full year doing content, I also hit my next subscriber milestone as well, which was 50 subscribers. That's huge. I started doing this because I wanted to talk about books and writing, and I don't have that many people in my personal life that I can discuss those topics with. Even my family members and friends who do read don't typically read the same kinds of books I do. And over the last month, I have really seen what I am capable of. I learned a whole new editing program, and I'm starting to feel like I'm finding my voice and my niche on this platform. I also got back into a rhythm with my writing after taking most of June off. I am now finishing up with my world building and getting ready to start the first draft of my outline for this project that I've been working on, and I am really, really excited. I think I've done some really, really good work, and I attribute some of that to vlogging the process. Posting about my successes and failures online has kept me accountable and kept me motivated to keep going. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what I can accomplish next month as well. One area I did not improve was reading. I only finished at this time 2 books in July and started 2 others. It definitely was not my strongest reading month. The momentum that I thought I had at the end of June kind of fizzled out at the beginning of July as I was dealing with that family issue that I mentioned, and I never really felt inspired to continue reading. And then the Olympics hit, and even though it's only been a week, I can already see my reading attention span decline. But I keep telling myself, I love the Olympics. I really, really enjoy them. They really bring me a lot of joy, and so they only come around once every 4 years, so I'm not going to beat myself up over prioritizing watching those over reading. At least that's what I'm telling myself as we move into August. Normally, I would insert some favorites into this section as well, but unfortunately, there just hasn't really been that many favorites in my life. Like I said, only 2 books, neither of which I really enjoyed. Not a lot of television watching other than sports, and not a ton of time for video games either. What can I say? I'm pretty cut and dry. And that just about wraps up July. It was a great month in a lot of ways and a tough one in other ways. But I feel like I built up some momentum and I'm putting myself in a good place for August. So looking ahead to August, I've got several goals in several areas that I would like to try and meet. For reading, it's a big one. So at the beginning of the year, I set a goal for myself to read 6 books a month, and that would just about double my reading output from last year, which is about 35 books. My thought is I would read at least 1 book a week and then 1 on the weekends where I didn't have my kids. And at first I nailed it. I read 10 books in January and like 8 in February. But after that, things started going downhill, and in April, I entered a disastrous reading slump that extended into May and into June, and I would argue a little bit into July as well, which is so frustrating because I feel like I am reading every day. Or at least thinking about the books that I'm reading every day. It has been so hard to find the time. And when you're feeling slumpy, like prioritizing it just doesn't appeal. Even now, when I'm trying to get back on track, I've only read 2 books this month and I didn't like either of them. But I'm not going to let that deter me. I am going to try and get back on track this month. I am now 7 books off of my goal pace. So I've got some wood to chop for sure. In order to do that, I am going to do my best to read 2 books a week. Now, that is a little ambitious, especially for someone who reads almost exclusively fantasy, and those books tend to be quite long. But I'm going to try and balance that out with some young adult books that tend to be on the shorter side, and maybe some romantasy as well. The problem is I don't particularly love either of those 2 categories. So it's going to be a little bit of a balancing act to read the books that I like and read more books that I can easily digest. And saying that out loud, I know that the advice would just be read the books that I like, but I'm trying to establish a reading habit where I'm reading every day. And sometimes those longer books can feel really intimidating and almost a little bit discouraging when you read 100 pages and you're only 25% of the way in. So in order to kind of foster that habit, I am going to mix in some of those easier reads, even if I don't anticipate really loving them as much as the others. So that's reading. For writing, I have been pretty transparent on my writing vlog series that August is the month for my outline. I have pretty much worn myself out with world building and kind of figuring out plot holes and my characters and whatnot and the structure of how certain entities within the story are going to work. I'm pretty tired of it by now. And so I have decided that on August 1st, which is tomorrow, that it is time to start my outline. And I am a very, very staunch planner, and I tend to do multiple drafts of an outline. I'm going to get a little bit into this more in my writing vlogs, but the idea is I do a very bare bones outline, and then I do a detailed outline, and then I revise that outline. So my goal for August in terms of writing is to at least complete the first draft of the outline. So that means doing my bare bones outline first, which is literally just almost like a beat sheet, but not the beat sheet, but kind of in the same vein, where I'm hitting the major plot points to make sure that the structure makes sense. And then once I have that, once I'm secure in that, then I'll move into a more detailed outline where it is scene by scene by scene. I may even throw in a third step there where I don't do scene by scene, I just do chapter by chapter or something, because it does feel a little bit of a jump to go from just a beat sheet to scene by scene. But my goal is to have that scene by scene outline done by the end of the month. I don't anticipate necessarily having the revised outline done by the end of the month. So I'm going to keep my goal achievable and just say, let's have that first scene by scene outline complete by September 1st. So that's writing. I'm really looking forward to it. And it has been really awesome to see how my writing journey has been really my big channel grower. And that brings me into my next goal, which is to engage with this channel more. As I mentioned earlier, this was started as a hobby for me to just shout into the void my feelings on reading and writing. But 1 year in, I've decided I'm going to just commit fully to this content creation thing. So part of that is I want to start filming more shorts, things that I can put on TikTok as well, and just little videos that don't necessarily require as much preparation or sitting down or the time commitment to sit down and film and edit. In July, I had my biggest subscriber growth ever, and I would love to see that again in August. Of course, I know that's not necessarily something I can control, but by engaging with the channel more and creating more content, I hope to bring in more of you guys to follow me on my journey to both write a novel and catch up on my reading goals. I've got a smattering of other goals as well, mostly in my personal life, but the big one I'm going to mention here is exercise, primarily walking. I joined a gym last year, and for a while was going, but I just find the time commitment to be too taxing. So going to the gym just hasn't been something that has worked for me on a regular basis just because of the time commitment. So I recently bought a walking pad, which if you're not familiar is almost like a treadmill, except it's very small and lies flat and it doesn't go very fast. It's literally meant for walking, not for, anything more strenuous than that. And it can slide right under your bed. So I'm going to get that set up, and in theory, like when I'm watching the Olympics or watching sports or listening to an audiobook, I can get on that and get my exercise in. So I have no idea how it's going to work. I'm a little bit nervous about it, but I am hoping that having that means of exercise at hand here in my home, where I'm not having to commit to driving to the gym and spending an hour there and then coming back, it will make it a little bit more appealing for me. So those are my goals for August. I am really hoping to have a smashing month, but I am also aware that I've got some major commitments coming up. Not only am I going to be watching the Olympics, but I've also got my daughter's birthday and back to school to prepare for. So while I'm hoping to meet all of my goals and get back on track for meeting the resolutions that I made at the beginning of the year, I'm also not going to stress too much if it doesn't really work out. So the last thing I have for you guys today is my TBR, and I have been thinking about it for the last week, how I want to construct my TBR this month. The last couple of months, because of my reading slump, my TBR has not worked out really, really great for me. I have picked a lot of books that end up going right back on my shelf because I just don't get to them. I also had a month where I read like nothing but library books, and that didn't really work out. I only read like 3. I've done completely random draws for a month, and that hasn't really worked out. So I am once again trying something new, and that is to not have a set TBR specifically. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue reading my library books as they roll in. I've got several on hold and several checked out, so I'm going to continue reading them based on when I've checked them out. But I'm also going to chip away at my own TBR, once again with the help of my TBR Mimic. The difference this month is I'm only going to pick one book out of my Mimic, and once I am finished with that book, I will draw a new number. That way there's still the fun of the random element and not knowing, which I have found actually really inspires me to read, without the pressure of knowing I have all these books looming over me. So I'm hoping this works out for the better. So without further ado, let's pick my first book of August. So I added like 30 more books today because I've been really behind on updating it. And then I realized after that I shouldn't have added all of them because a lot of them are sequels to books that I haven't even started yet. I did buy the entire Expanse series, and that's 9 books, and I've only read 2 of them. So we may end up with a draw that doesn't make sense. I'll have to redraw, but I'm fine with that. All right, so we're gonna go to the bottom here and see what we can see. Okay. So for my first book of August, I have selected number 132. Now it's time to check my spreadsheet and find out what that corresponds to. Okay, so I'm actually really excited about this. 132 corresponds to A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, and I am excited about this for a couple of reasons. I have heard some good things about it, and even though it's considered YA, I think it trends a little bit adultier than some of the other YA I've read. It's very short, just over 300 pages, and Fairy Loot just started a pre-sale for some special editions that are gorgeous, but I didn't want to commit to spending $100 until I knew I liked at least the first one. So this actually works out really, really great. And that just about wraps up this August cozy reset. I'm really, really looking forward to August. I think I am in a good place to purge all of the negative energy that I have been building up over the last couple of months and capitalize on this rhythm that I have been building over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Even though I've got some distractions and some hurdles, I think August could be a really good month. Thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate it. In my next video, I will have my last world building writing vlog for you. I hope you look forward to it, and I will see you then. Bye.